Welcome to Unfuck Your Legal Marketing, the show where we get brutally honest about marketing, business, and the messy middle of making it all work. I'm Gary Johnson, marketing coach, strategist, and professional BS detector for attorneys and business owners who are tired of doing what everyone else does. Around here, we skip the fluff. We have real conversations, real insights, and maybe a few F-bombs along the way. So let's get into it. Welcome to Unfuck Your Legal Marketing. I'm your host, Gary Johnson, and my goal is to give you, the listener, ideas, tactics, strategies, and inspiration to grow your legal practice through the guests that we bring onto the podcast. And with legal marketing, there's a ton of activities that you can do to grow your business. That is both good and bad. The bad part is that not everything will work for you, and some of it is actually fucked. And the good part is that there is something that each one of you can do to grow your practice. And together, we are going to unfuck your legal marketing. And so today's guest, she helps attorneys get more done in less time and with less overwhelm by mastering how they are using their time and focus. And what does this have to do with legal marketing? Well, it has everything to do with legal marketing, because if you don't have the time, you won't market your practice. And if you don't market your practice, guess what? You won't be as successful as your potential. So my guest today is Dr. Sarah Reiff-Hekking. She is a clinical psychologist, a speaker, and the founder of True Focus Coaching, where she has spent over 20 years helping business owners, attorneys, and leaders build systems that actually work for them, not against them. And I cannot tell you what a real treat you are in for today, because I personally have had Sarah help me with my time management. And I'm not saying this to be overly stated, but it has changed my life. She has single-handedly changed my life. I have massive ADHD, which my focus is all over the place. She was able to help me build systems that work for me, not work for everybody else, but work for me. And she's here today to give us some wisdom on how we can manage our time effectively so that we can go out there and do our marketing, so that we actually have the time. Because complaint that my clients have as attorneys is they say, Gary, this marketing stuff is really working well. And I got all of this business and now I can't market. And the reason why is because they're not able to manage their time. So with that being said, Sarah, welcome to Unfuck Your Legal Marketing. I'm so glad that you're here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited about this conversation. I can't wait to see where it goes.
Me too. So I want to get right into it and ask you this. How do high-performing lawyers unintentionally sabotage their own time?
Many, many ways. I think some of it has to do with this concept of high performing, which often means I'm responding to everybody all of the time.
Yeah.
And I want to be responsive. I'm really careful about what I do and how I do. Well, actually, I'm really careful about the legal advice that I give. So I want to not only give amazing legal advice, do that amazing job, but I want to serve everybody all the time. And what that means is you're constantly interrupting yourself because you see the text, you see the email, you see the phone, the colleague walks in, the secretary walks in, junior lawyers walk in, whoever it is for you. And you're always thinking, I need to respond to that client thing. And you're running around doing that stuff, and you may be very good at that stuff. But if that's what you're always doing, interrupting yourself, and you're only focused on the client needs, your team needs, and whoever's yelling the loudest, then you're not going to have the time to, number one, do the reflective deep work you need to do. And number two, to reflect on how you're running your business and what's the best way to run your business and continue to do so in a way that works for you. And that's where the marketing piece comes in. Yeah. Marketing is great. And you talked in the intro about, now I'm marketing, now I don't have time to market. okay, if you want to get off that roller coaster that a lot of lawyers are on, or a lot of high performers are on, pushing all those deadlines and then exhausted,
Yep.
right?
Yeah. Very
Then you
exhausted.
need to figure out how to regularly work some things in so that you can start to slow down that roller coaster or smooth it out a little bit.
So when you're working with your clients and you look at one of the things that you asked me to do is understand how I'm spending my time during a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And what I hear from lawyers is bill, 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 because without the billables, we're not making any money, right? And at the same time, the contrarian thing aspect to this is without marketing, you have nothing to bill. So it's this push and pull for their time, like you were saying. How do you get them so that they're focused in on the right things on a day-to-day basis instead of, like you were just saying, being reactionary, people coming in, emails popping up, bing, 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 all sorts of notifications going off where they're all over the place. And we all understand that we can't do it all, right? But they're like billable, billable, billable. And that is a priority for them. And then everything else is shit, right? Everything else is, fuck everything else. It'll all eventually work out. However, it doesn't because they're overwhelmed. So how do you get them so that they can, using your roller coaster analogy, smooth that out so you don't have the highs and lows?
Yeah. So I think the first thing comes to creating a flexible weekly plan for yourself.
Okay. Talk more about that because that's a huge one.
Yeah. So it always starts with when you're working and when you're not working. And that is the line that we blur all the time, right? We're kind of sort of working or kind of sort of, dealing with that kid or that elder parent that needs some support, or we're kind of sort of thinking about planning that thing. We're kind of sort of thinking about that client. We're never really in one zone.
Yeah.
And staying in that zone long enough to really move ourselves forward. And the more you are switching activities and tasks during the day, the more exhausted you're going to be. Now, the reason is because whenever you're loading information in, it takes some time and energy to get it in, right? So think about that client case that you just really need to get the details in your head. It takes some time to do that. And if you switch to the next client in the next 2 minutes, then you have to get rid of that stuff, add more, get rid of that stuff, add more, get rid of that stuff, add more as you're switching back and forth. This is why you end up at the end of the day exhausted and feeling like you haven't moved anything forward because you haven't stayed in that zone of, I will call it productivity or focus, long enough to move stuff forward because you're getting distracted and pulled all the time.
Yeah.
So that's one piece. And that's broad strokes. And I know I just broke somebody's brain saying, when am I working? When am I not working? Right? Because I can hear everybody yelling at their devices going, I'm working all the time, Sarah.
Right. I work 100 hours a week.
Yes. And you may. And there are still times in your day when you're not working. And I want you to honor that. And I want you to notice it. And I want you to consciously create some space where you're not working. So that's the first thing. Then
okay, wait. Can I pause you for a quick second? Why is that so important to honor that time, to have the, would you call it rest time, me time? Why is that so important? When I've got all this shit that's going on in my head, I find that's the last thing that I want to do is honor my own time.
Right. And also, it's probably the last thing that you want to do is do something that feels refueling or self-care-ish for you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you think, oh my God, there's all these things on my list.
Yes.
Holy moly.
Yep.
Holy moly. So here's the thing. If you don't spend time refueling, and if you're not resting, if you're not taking care of your mind, body in some way, you're going to end up being burnt out and exhausted, and you're going to get sick and have mental health issues. Right? It's clear. The data is really clear. And the other thing that I know is that self-care time, that self-refueling time, I actually call it fuel for your ultimate self, because if we call it self-care time, then it feels like it's frivolous. If you really want to fuel yourself so you can have that whole practice that you want and the whole life that you want outside of the practice, you need to take that very seriously. And what will happen when you're getting enough sleep, when you're getting some time to do fun things for you, some renewal activities, that you will actually be able to get more done during your workday because you won't be as exhausted.
Yeah.
You'll be rested. Guess
Yeah.
what? A rested mind functions more quickly and you make fewer mistakes.
Yeah. That's brilliant.
So it's paradoxical. And all of the workaholics listening are like, yeah, I don't believe it.
Yeah.
And I hear this from clients all the time, because one of the things I say in your weekly plan is I want you to plan 24 hours off or free in a row. And I know I just broke the other half of people's brains when I just said that. Everybody's
I was
like,
included in on that when you said that to me. I was like, go fuck yourself. There's
Yeah.
no way I'm going to be able to spend 24 hours. That's called a Sabbath. I don't do Sabbath. Like,
Right,
I know
right.
God wants me to, and that's good enough for him, but it wasn't good. Like,
Right. It's all a
Yeah.
great idea, Sarah, but I'm not doing it. Right.
Yeah.
So here's the
Yeah.
reality. And I'm thinking of a real client of mine who runs a very highfalutin legal practice. You know, he's a partner. He has people under him. He's managing all the stuff. He's doing business development, all of the stuff. And he started working with me and decided he was going to like not look at his phone for 24 hours. Right.
Yeah.
And he was convinced he couldn't do it.
Yep.
Not possible, people tell me.
Yeah.
It's possible. You have to practice it. And the biggest thing that he noticed was it was him double checking that there wasn't stuff to do, or if there was stuff to do, and then again, distracting his downtime to do it, even though it could be done during the work week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So practicing and if you need to start with 3 hours on a Saturday morning, fine. Right? Start with a container of time and then open the wedge and see what happens with 24 hours off. Fast forward, that particular client has been taking 24 hours off in a row for 8 months now. And continually each week is like 24 hours off in a row. Can't believe I didn't think it was possible before. I am so much better fueled for the rest of my week because I actually shut down the work stuff. The other thing that does is it allows you time for fun, and in a way that you get to appreciate the fun and enjoy the fun and be involved in the fun instead of it being a guilty pleasure that happens in the middle of a work day or at night when you feel like you're supposed to be pushing a deadline or whatever it is, which ends up being a guilty pleasure. And then you don't actually get the renewal from it.
Yeah.
You feel bad
And
about
that's the
it.
key thing, is the renewal. I mean, so for our listeners, this is gold. Absolute. Like, if you didn't get anything from it, this 24 hours is gold, because you get more done in a shorter amount of time being refueled, because you actually refuel. You take time for yourself, but it's also, you're designing a life for yourself. You're not designing a life of grind. That leads to burnout. That leads to ineffectiveness. That leads to a lot of bad things. But imagine if you were like, okay, I'm going to try this. See what happens. I'm not going to die from taking 24 hours off of work, but let's see what happens. And I would highly encourage everybody to do it. I did it. And I did what she said, what Sarah said before, was I did 6 hours. And let me tell you, it was such a difficult thing to do, because it's the first time you're doing things. And you do it again and you go, that's not so bad. And then you start to see the benefits again and again and again. It's that consistency of doing it that then you feel refueled, and then you start to tackle your days. You get so much more done. It's brilliant. I mean, it really is. Now, if we're talking about deep work and we're talking about sustained time on certain projects, how do you recommend somebody getting into that? One, do they need to put that on their calendar, or can they kind of like freeload whenever it happens, it happens? And how often should they be doing that deep work?
So my answer is going to be it depends, because here's the thing. We're all wired differently. You have to be careful what you copy. So just like you said, you decided to practice 6 hours off in a row and see what that benefit is. That was a good place for you to start.
Yep.
I have clients that are like, well, I do half a day. What would happen if I did 2 days off? Right?
Yeah.
That's called the weekend for a lot of people. So I'm going to say the same thing. I'm going to say the same thing about what are those must-do activities during the workday, one of which is marketing or business development, right? Whatever you choose to call it. And I think the name and how you call it for yourself does matter. We can talk about that in a minute. But what are the must-do activities? Then you want to set up what's generally the best time for your brain, your body, your life, and your business to do those activities.
Yeah.
Okay. So for instance, lawyers often need to sit down and read or write or edit some sort of document, right? And some people, first thing in the morning is the best time for them to do that. Or first thing when they hit the office, right? I'm fresh, I can do it.
Yeah.
For other people, they don't really wake up to do the writing kind of stuff until mid-afternoon.
Right.
And once they've woken up, great. So it's better maybe for them to do some client interaction for those first couple of hours.
Yeah.
And then go into the deep work around the writing piece. So that's an example of how you need to sort of understand your own energy and how it fluctuates during the day.
Yep.
And when's the best time for you to put in those activities and do your best to match them up. Now, sometimes our best time to do work is like 8:00 at night. And we have young children at home and we would like to be present with them. So we're going to choose not to do that. All right. But you might say, if that's true, maybe one night or 2 nights a week, I will choose to work from 8 to 10 in the evening.
Yeah.
And reduce that time somewhere else in my week so that I'm not overworking. Right? Makes sense?
Yep. Totally does. Let's go back to what you were saying about names matter. What you call certain things matter. Dive into that a little bit.
So the human brain is very deeply connected to what is meaningful and important to that particular human. And what that means is the way we label things and the wording that we use is going to help you care about something or not, right? So for instance, I have a client who, and actually I will say this is multiple clients that will say to me, Sarah, I'm not getting to the marketing stuff. And I'll say, okay, well, when have you ever gotten to the marketing stuff? Or, you know what, there was a period of time and this is how I got to it and why. And I can tell you, there usually was a really clear target of what they're going to do and they cared about it. It was meaningful and important to them. Okay. So instead of calling it that marketing stuff, they relabel it. So let me give you an example on the just follow up and networking side, which is really important to marketing and business development. Right. And everybody I know struggles with this, right?
Yep.
Particularly a lot of my lawyer clients. So what happens is we put call so-and-so, or we put make follow-up calls. And you go,
I don't want to do that.
Follow-up.
That.
Right? I hate follow-up calls. I don't want to do the freaking follow-up calls. Oh,
Yeah.
Stick a needle in my eye. Don't want to do it. Right?
Yep.
So if you walk that through, like, why do you hate it? And what are you saying to yourself about that? Often it's, I'm just going to bug people. I'm just tooting my own horn. It's a waste of time. Right?
Yeah.
Whatever the things are that come up for you, like write them down. And I'm serious, write it down because it's really important to be specific here. But then you can start to turn it around and say, okay, when you've ever made those calls, when has it gone easy for you? When you've made those calls and they've been fun, what does that look like?
Yeah.
And it probably looks like something related to, I reach out to people and help them solve problems. That was one for one of my clients. When I said, has it ever been easy to do the marketing calls that he had in his calendar? It's when I was solving problems for other people. I have a bunch of clients that when I call them, they need support, but they don't have time to call me.
Yeah. Yep.
So we then changed the labeling from make the marketing calls to reach out and see if you can problem solve for people.
God, I love that. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and
different energy, fully different energy.
Completely different energy.
Yeah.
And it's something that was fun for him and that he cared about.
Yeah.
He wanted to be a resource. That was fun for him.
Yeah. Because I find, especially with follow-up, I find most attorneys don't do it because one, they don't want to be seen as desperate. They don't want to be salesy and they hate rejection.
Right.
But all of those are all negative. So if you label it in your head as being negative, guess what your subconscious is going to do? It's going to sabotage you. It's going to make you look for those distractions out there. I should check my email now instead of I should block that. I have this time that's blocked off to do this, and I'm going to do some problem solving for my clients. It's a totally different thing. It's a totally different thing, so many different levels.
Yeah. And I think, the other piece here is labeling the quote unquote rejection, because you and I both know that when you're talking to people about your services, there's going to be a certain proportion, and sometimes it's a large proportion of people that it's not a good fit for. That doesn't mean you've done anything wrong at all. Yeah. It just means that you're not talking to the right person. Mm-hmm. And, in sales, if you're doing a really good job, you're like 1 in 4. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
And I want to say, so 1 in 4, yes. So 1 is yes, 3 is no. So, and that's if you're really, really good. And if you're in a pond of people that need your services. Right. So I think also framing what does successful reach out, successful marketing look like? Yep. Is really, really important in what your metrics are. And this is one of the things you're good at helping people figure out, Gary. Reflecting on them in a way that makes sense, right? Instead of, my God, 3 people said no.
Yeah. Yeah.
1 out of 4 said yes. That means you're a rock star.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So if for you it's 1 in 20, all right, well, play with that number.
Yeah. So true. Okay. So what about overcommitment? And how does overcommitment, I would say, quietly erode consistency in marketing and business development? Because they're committed to this. I'm on this board. I'm a part of this networking group. Oh, and by the way, I've got to run my practice. So screw marketing, screw, the business development. I want to do this other stuff. I'm going to be overcommitted, which leads to overwhelm.
Which leads to overwhelm, which leads to burnout. But I think it fundamentally comes back to that flexible template, right? So if you figure out the hours you want to work and the hours you want to be involved in different commitments outside of work, then you need to say, what are the most important activities to get in during those hours? And anybody who's running a business cannot afford to blow off marketing.
Yeah.
Because if people don't know about you, they're not going to buy from you. They're not going to hire you. And I know lawyers don't like the buy word, but it's what we're talking about. They're not going to know that you're there to help them. They're not going to hire you to help them solve problems.
Yeah, totally.
So if you think about really what are the most important things to get into your week, and then how do you do it more easily and quickly? And what does success mean when you're doing that? Mm-hmm. Right. And that's why I brought up the numbers before in terms of the 1 in 10, 1 in 20. What does success really look like? So you can say that was successful.
Yeah.
Even though on the face of it, it might feel less successful.
Yeah, totally true. One of the things that you do is a planning session for the next week on Friday mornings. Why Friday mornings? Why, why even look at the next week? How does that get into time management?
Yeah. So most of my clients come in saying, Sarah, I can't look out a week. What are you even freaking talking about? I can't handle today and tomorrow. And I'm juggling too much stuff and things are already falling through the cracks. I can't think that far out. The reality is you can't afford not to think that far out. Because
why so?
When you start to look out, you start to notice what's coming up. And then you notice what you need to be prepared for in a much more proactive way. And for most of my clients, I'll say, look out 2 to 3 weeks. Notice what's coming up. This is life-changing for lawyers. This is life-changing. Notice what's coming up. Notice what you need to be prepped for in a timely manner, not the just-in-time prepping. And yes, some of the just-in-time prepping, like the minute before it's due, is effective and makes sense. But a lot of it is just a bad habit that you're pushing deadlines all the time. And there's a lot of just-in-time prepping that most of it can be done. And then you're doing the icing on the cake just before when you're refreshing and making sure you're on top of everything. So looking out to notice what's coming up and reminding yourself to bring into your current day or week those things you need to prepare for in the future
Yep.
is going to bring down that roller coaster of activity and anxiety and help just even it out a little bit.
Yeah.
So that you know really what your true workload is, and it doesn't feel like it's biting you in the butt when you turn the calendar over and look at the next day or the next week. And the reason why I recommend doing it on Fridays is because then you're looking out past the weekend into the next week. You get to start to set up your plan for the following week. You get to ask yourself, what do I want to complete by the end of the day on Friday? And then where do I want to pick up on Monday? So that you can create a time map for yourself that allows yourself the downtime over the weekend.
True. It really is. One of the things, and I don't know if any of the listeners can relate to this, but I used to fret Sunday nights. Sunday nights were massive anxiety. What do I got going on? And usually I didn't even want to look at my calendar for the fear of what my Monday was going to look like. And when I started to do the Friday morning looking at the week in advance, that went away.
Yeah.
It was such a huge stress reliever. But the other thing that I found was it made me better at what I did. It made me even more prepared. I wasn't being as reactionary. I was being very proactive, and it gave me a lot of peace. And I hate to use that word peace, but because it's just so overused, but it's so true in this manner where I love my Sunday nights. I'm not going to like it coming up because we don't have football Sunday nights anymore coming up. Damn it. But it is such a huge reliever and you perform better. Here's the other thing is, and here's the reason why I brought it up at this time is because it helps with your overcommitment. You look at it and go, yeah, I'm going to say no. So when somebody asks you, hey, can you do this? You already know what your week looks like. There's no way that you're going to put that in there. So you say no. Because saying no means that you're saying yes to something else. Just like when you say yes to something, it means you're saying no to something else because you only have so much time. But when you're able to do this, you are taking care of yourself, and which then leads to better client engagement, which leads to more business, which leads to more money, more opportunity for your employees, so on and so forth. It's just a great thing. By doing a pre-planning of the week before on a Friday morning. It's as simple as that. And it takes half hour to an hour. And, if you want to get the full, like how to do the plan, sign up for Sarah's boot camp. I'm telling you, it's life-changing. Like, I'm not kidding. It's a nominal cost for pure time freedom and being able to overcome a lot of the shit that's in our own head that says, I'm working so much, but I'm not getting anything done. That is called stress. That is called worry. That is called obsessing about certain things and being overcommitted. We want to get away from that and doing those things that you were just talking about, which is labeling things, having the flexible template, being able to look at your week in advance and really being able to identify what do I need to prep for, and also what do I need to take care of? That's an important element to everyday life so that you can be a better business owner, a better attorney, a better husband, wife, parent, or kid.
Gary, as you're saying that, I'm thinking of one of my clients who, with the weekly planning, the thing that it definitely helped on his business day, but it also helped on his date nights with his partner because he would say, oh, we have a date night coming up. It's time to make that reservation. And he was no longer like, crap, where are we going to go tonight? What's our plan?
Oh,
he was able to be really thoughtful about what would be fun. How should we spend this evening? And it made a really, really big difference. So these tools work both on the personal side and the professional side.
Yep.
And can make a really, really big difference. But here's the thing. You have to be solving the puzzle for the whole life that you want to look at. So when you're putting together the time map, you have to be thinking about, oh, that's right. I do want to have a date night with so often. That's right. I do have kids. I have family members I want to spend time with. Oh, my body requires maintenance. What does that look like? Sleep, right? So
who does that?
Right. And then also leave some space for the wild cards because stuff does come up and I can hear somebody again yelling at us. That's all fine, but it's too busy for me. I can't plan. My business runs on emergencies. That's what I'm here for.
True. Okay, last question for you. What is one thing lawyers can do with their time management to unfuck themselves?
So many things. You only want one thing.
I
here.
just want one.
Take a breath before you respond.
Why?
Because number one, breathing, deep breathing into your belly reduces the stress response. It turns off the stress response. When we are stressed, we're in that panic reactive place. We're often shallow breathing or not breathing deeply. We're just holding our breath, honestly. So getting some oxygen in and turning off the fight or flight response is going to allow you to think more clearly about, should I take this interruption or should I stay where I am?
Yeah.
And then that's going to bridge the gap to, why do I keep getting interrupted?
Yeah.
And how do I start to contain those in a different way? And that's a whole different podcast. But that deep breath is critical. And it seems like a beginner move, but the more I work with people on this, it's really an advanced move because it's a reflection point. If you can start to take that deep breath, then you start to have the space to go, what's the best use of my time right now? And that's the key.
God, I love that. That's not something that I've been doing lately. And as soon as you said it, I was like, yeah, I remember those days when I used to do that. And I could make better decisions and I was more calm and more confident and breathe. So simple, yet powerful. I always think that the simpler things are, the more powerful they can become.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's also the consistency of doing it again and again and again. And being able to pull that forward when you're like, God, I got this big thing coming up. And you just go, okay, I got to breathe. Like, okay, let's just center ourselves and let's get into this. And then you're like, okay, I can think better, as opposed to the rat race that's just going all over the place.
Right. So a lot of that, we call it automatic negative thinking in psychological land. And that is produced by stress hormones. So taking the deep breath and starting to turn that switch off that the stress hormones are just pushing and stomping on is going to help you then be able to make clearer decisions and ask yourself in the moment, really, what's the best use of my time? And that's what we're after, that continual assessment. And it doesn't mean you have to be productive 24/7. It means what's the best use of your time is sometimes rest, is sometimes reflection, is sometimes talking with a colleague. It's sometimes shutting everything out so you can get that brief written. It's sometimes saying, you know what, I do need to do business development. I need to do it just an hour a week. And that's how you keep it from becoming a roller coaster. You just tend to it like you would something else. You tend to that garden.
Yeah. Oh my God. Sarah, thank you. Holy cow.
You're welcome.
I told you guys this was going to be gold. I mean, between the flexible template, labeling things, making sure that those labels are the correct thing that work for you, having that flexibility, making sure you're spending time with time for yourself, in joy, in happiness. That's going to really help you be your ultimate self. Get rid of your distractions, stay in the zone. Good God. And I'm probably missing a ton of others. And lastly, breathe. Just breathe.
Right.
And if you want to go deeper on this, I would highly recommend, as being one of Sarah's students, she's life-changing. I told you she was going to be fucking awesome, and she was. But her program is amazing, whether it's group coaching or individual coaching. If you struggle with this, you have to reach out to Sarah. And she's also not one of these slimy people that's going to just try and shove you into something. She sees if it's a good fit, and it literally was a life-changing thing for me. If you want to get a hold of her, I'm going to put all of her contact information into the show notes, because if she says it right now, nobody's going to listen to it and they're going to pass by and then get into their own stuff. It's all going to be down there. Please reach out to her. She is amazing. And thank you, Sarah. Thank you for spending the time on here and giving your words of wisdom for our listeners. I really appreciate it.
You are welcome. Thanks so much for having me. And, since we ended with the deep breath, I'll also give you a link to my Practice the Pause
Excellent.
handout, which will walk you through that deep breathing in a way that's really easy, can be done in a minute, and you can just grab that. No cost.
Okay. Grab that in the show notes, people. You will not be disappointed. I promise you. Money back guarantee. So, yeah. So thank you, Sarah. I really appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you as well.
All right. Bye-bye.
That's it for today's episode of Unfuck Your Legal Marketing. If you got a spark of inspiration, learned something new, or at least got a good laugh, make sure to follow, rate, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Thanks for hanging out with me, and remember, the best marketing is the one that actually sounds like you. See you next time.